Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for a webinar on the enhancements that we're planning for the myKillik website and mobile application for this year. Welcome back to some of you that may have joined us last year. We did a webinar on how to use all of the myKillik functionality, and then also had another webinar specifically on Killik lifetime planning. But for those of you who are new and may not have met Mike and I before, I'm Nina, and I lead the myKillik and Silo app development and I guess ongoing enhancements. And then Mike, who is also joining us here tonight, leads up all of the design for myKillik web and applications. So Mike's going to be here tonight to basically help in answering some of the questions that you may have. But just before we start, through me going through the order in which we'll deal with things tonight, you'll see a Q&A box down the bottom, hopefully. Basically, feel free to put in any questions that you may have. And what we'll try to do is, as I go through functionality, Mike will step in and try and deal with your questions as they're relevant. But if we have time at the end, we'll also try and pick up on some more questions. So Mike, good luck interrupting the flow, but we're really keen to be able to try and answer as many of your questions as we go through. And any feedback or questions after, please do just get in touch. We're more than happy to help in your use of myKillik and hope it enhances your experience. So just a quick run through on what we're going to go through today is we thought it might be beneficial because there's been quite a few app releases recently to be able to take you through some of the recent releases on the myKillik app. And then we're going to move into recent releases from the myKillik website. And then we're going to move into some of our upcoming releases. And then we'll just finish by showing you some of our release videos, which should hopefully guide you a little bit better as we release things in terms of being able to watch short videos that show you how to use that specific functionality. Right. I think that's all housekeeping, so I might make a start. I'm just going to start by sharing my iPhone screen. So hopefully this will pop up very soon. So just to make a start here, recently within the app, we have introduced the ability to be able to pull to refresh. And what that does is it updates all of the data that we have on your account in real time so that you're able to see updated figures. And this is particularly useful if you are looking at the app throughout the day and you're wanting to, for example, see any changes on your movers or on your valuation. So this can be done by basically pulling down on your screen like I'm doing now, and then data should refresh and update in the background. It's just a bit slow right now. There we go. So you'll see that there's been some changes there and valuation changes from that. And this is also available on the investments page, which may be useful if you're looking at specific price changes on a daily basis or looking at value changes of specific holdings. So just a note that you're able to also pull to refresh on that page. And then also if you're looking at research, you'll be able to pull to refresh to get updated pricing information on any research ideas or within watch lists as well. Okay. The next is that we've introduced the ability to make instant payments within myKillik. So you'll see here, there's a big section on the dashboard which deals with faster payments. And what this means is that you're able to make a payment to your Killik account using the bank account that you have registered with Killik instantly. So for the end of tax year, or if you're wanting to save, because you have a little bit extra to put away, this functionality makes it incredibly easy in the app. So this can be located just by clicking on the widget on the dashboard and then clicking on Make Payments. So you'll see here the structure of the page at the top just deals with instant payments. The information icon here that I've just tapped on deals with information about what an instant payment is and how you can make them. And then if you decide that you want to make an instant payment, you can basically use this functionality here and then make a payment. And what this will do is it will bounce you into your banking application. So for example, if I am a customer with HSBC, it will bounce me into HSBC securely to authorize that payment and then bounce me back into Killik or myKillik to be able to then view that payment. So if you have questions as you're making a payment, there's FAQs here, which are a useful guide if you just have a small question that you don't want to send an email about. And then also, if you want to be able to look at your payment activity, if you've made any instant payments, what will happen is if you've just made a payment, there'll be a pending section that shows here. And what that means is you can go in and click and see that that payment has been made successfully and we're allocating it to your account. But you can also see records of all the other payments that you may have made. So if I click in, I can see on what date in March I made payments and that those are completed and all against and allocated to my account. We also still have the information on other ways to pay. So if you are making a payment from your own bank account and you're wanting to be able to know what reference you should be putting against it, this is a very secure way to be able to look at what reference you should be using and also obtaining the correct details to be able to do that. So it's just a useful reference for safety and security for the end of the tax year as well. Might pause there in case there are any questions at this point, Mike, to do with any of the functionality I've gone through. If not, I'll keep going.
Yeah, so we've got one or two questions coming.
Cool.
So we've got, are the noted prices of stocks on your iPhone app current or with 15-minute delay?
Yep. Okay, so we have 15-minute delay pricing on UK markets, US markets, and most European markets. There has been a bit of an issue with European pricing more recently, but we're now at the point that that is looking more stable. At this point, that will only be at 15-minute delay. And what that should do is if you refresh the data, you'll have any prices that have updated over that time. That will then update your valuation if you're wanting to check during the day.
We've got a question about instant payments and what the boundaries are. What's the lowest amount you can pay and the highest?
Okay, yep. So at the moment, the minimum payment is £100 and the maximum payment is £20,000. This does vary from bank to bank, but across, some banks will allow more than £20,000. But we've set the limit to £20,000 because that deals with most banks that the KillikK clientele have, and then means that you're not going through, I guess, a bad user experience and having an amount rejected. So that's the way those sit at the moment. But I guess as open banking expands, that's able to change. Most banks will have a daily limit. So what you can do there if you are wanting to, for example, make a larger payment, is you can either spread those out into multiple transactions and maybe do one morning and then one the next day. But that's the way that sits at the moment. That's all for now.
A question about whether someone can withdraw cash from their account online.
No, there's not the ability to be able to do that. I know there has been some developments in open banking at being able to organize payouts. That's not specific functionality that we have looked at the moment, but I can note down that in the future and see if it's something that we can look into.
Okay.
Good for now?
I think that's all the ones, yeah, to do with that.
Okay, cool. Next, I'm going to move on to latest videos. So we've introduced this section within the app that deals with all of the latest video content that KillikK is putting together. And we expect this to basically be able to expand over time. And we're really keen to hear feedback from you as clients on the kind of topics or information that you might want to be covering. So for example, if you want to be hearing more from research or if you want to be hearing more on specific topics, we're keen to be able to build playlists that work for you so that you can view, short video content sort of on the run. So this can be accessed on the dashboard page. If you just scroll down, you can see latest videos. And then within here, you're able to swipe through. So you can see market update with Rachel Winter, which is very popular. And then also view any other webinars that KillikK has put out, which is quite handy as well, and view the educational content that Tim Bennett puts out. You'll also see that we have a latest section. So this will be whatever is the most recent. As I'm sure many of you are aware, both Tim and Rachel put out videos every Friday. But as there's more content, for example, like from us on how to use new features, you'll see all of this appear within the latest section. If you want to view a particular video, you can click into a playlist. You can peruse all of the different videos and dates if you're wanting to look for a specific topic. And then you can click on the video to be able to view that. Oop, get rid of the noise. Loaded quickly that time. So that's all there for you to be able to view. Any questions on that one, Mike, or is that okay? It's fairly self-explanatory.
I think we're okay on that.
Okay, great. The next is we get a lot of feedback from clients that you want to be able to view information in the order that you want to be able to view it in, which is particularly understandable. So for example, in looking at the dashboard, it might be your immediate priority to look at one specific thing when you go into the myKillik app. So what we've added in alongside the settings that we have that you can use to personalize your experience is the ability to be able to change around widgets within your dashboard. So if I click into here, basically the way this works is if I decide that I don't want to see any information on my investment services, I can tap on the eye and that will hide that from my dashboard. If I want to be able to see that information again, I just click and add it back in again. Similarly, if I decide that I might actually want to see the valuation on my account first, I just click and hover on wealth and then drag it to where I want that to be. So I've decided I want to be able to see wealth information first. And then actually, I'm not interested in seeing investment services. So I've put that down the bottom. If you save those settings, what will happen is you'll be able to view that information in the order you like anytime you go in. And if you change your mind and want to see it differently again, then you can do that. So the key things to remember there are basically using the eyes to hide information or to bring it back, and then using your finger to drag the order to then be able to set it the way you want to. If you click done up the top in the right-hand corner, this will save that setting for the future. But for today, I'm happy with the way that order is. So I'm just going to discard what I've done. Any questions there, Mike?
No, we've got one to do with payments again.
Okay, yep.
I can go back to that. I have an account in my name and a separate one jointly with my wife. If I use instant payments, into which account will it go?
Okay, so the way that will work is what will happen is that we pay money, for example, if you were wanting to make a payment for yourself and your wife, you could pay that into a cash account. And what would happen is your investment manager can then allocate that to exactly where you want to. So if you are making payments in that way, we can journal that money over or the cash that you have transferred over to exactly where you want it to be. But also, you've raised a good point there, which is at the moment, this functionality only supports payments from my account into my myKillik account. So for example, if I had a husband and I wanted to pay into his account, I can only pay into my account and then put an instruction in. But we'll see how that goes in terms of whether that expands in the future. But at the moment, it's just a payment to your account, and then you can exercise instructions from there.
We've got a slightly more general question about the app.
Yep.
Can all that is possible on the smartphone app also be done online on the desktop?
Can everything on the app be done on the desktop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a great question. The answer is yes and no. So all core functionality is across both the myKillik web platform and the myKillik app platform. But I suppose what we're trying to do here is build each application towards needs. So phones, for example, tend to be used for action-based things and being able to have a quick look at information or being able to engage with a video or something like that. So at the moment, we're trying to build towards more action or task-based activities and engagement, within the app. And then doing deep dive functionality or more exploring specific information within the myKillik website. But on the whole, I guess, for example, there you aren't able at the moment to make payments through the myKillik website, but you are able to make payments through the myKillik app, and you're able to update some basic personal details through the app, but you're not able to through the website. So there's some actions that we're putting in the app to make it, really easy for you to be able to do specific things on the run, because we all know people lead busy lives. Cool.
We've got another instant payments question.
Yep.
What does it mean if I can't use instant payments functionality because my bank account is not registered for faster payments?
Okay, so there is, I think, one bank that's name escapes me at the moment, that doesn't have open banking available at the moment. I think under regulation, they are required to. So that will be what the issue is there and why you can't use it. What you are able to do there is if you contact support or use update details, we are able to update information. For example, if you did happen to have another account. But what we will do is we very much keep an eye on when different banks are adding in that kind of functionality. So we'd be sure to be in touch with you to let you know that functionality was available when it becomes so. It's also probably important to note there that at the moment that facility is also only available to people that are located in the UK, and that's just for security reasons. So that may also be a reason why it doesn't show depending upon your location.
Okay, a couple quickly just asking whether you can run through where to find the dashboard order again.
Yes, absolutely. So if we're on the dashboard, bottom right is the account section. So if you think about that as basically being everything about you. So if I click into the account section and I click on settings, I'm then able to enter into the dashboard order. And what I should also highlight is we do have a video on how to use the dashboard order. So we'll be sure to include that in the email after the webinar, which will just be a useful recap if you forget where that is in the future. But that's where it is there. Cool.
I think so.
Okay, great. Next, we're moving right down to the bottom of the dashboard to your team contacts. Because I'm a test account, I have someone from middle office here, but if you have advisors, so for example, you might have a partner responsible, you might have a wealth planner, or you might have an investment manager. What you can do is if you would like to request a meeting with them, you can just tap the button that says request meeting, and it will ping an email off to your advisor saying that you're interested in catching up. We are very interested always in speaking to clients, so hopefully this is something that facilitates being able to take that first step in a much more easy way. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the dashboard and you're thinking, I'd like to speak to Neil or whoever your advisor may be, or you'd like to catch up with your planner, all the contact details are just there. And if you want to request a meeting, that information is also there. Okay. Next, we had a lot of feedback over time and also over COVID about how difficult it can be to update basic information. So for example, if you move addresses and the ease of being able to update that for our records. So what we've added in the Your Details section is the ability to be able to request to update your information. What this does is it only applies to UK addresses, and we securely check all of that information in the background and then update our records and notify your advisor. So, instead of having to write a letter saying that you have moved addresses, you can let us know easily through here by requesting to update that information. What will happen there is that information is then locked down for us to be able to review, to just check that that all matches up with records, and then to update that in hopefully an easier way for you. I also thought it was probably worth mentioning here in terms of looking at a new current release that unfortunately doesn't apply to this account. But if you're ever required to complete an ISA declaration, which I believe there may be some emails going out shortly, is you're able to find that information within this section here of updating details, and you're able to complete an ISA declaration here rather than having it posted or something like that. And similarly with W8 Ben forms, that's probably something that you receive a letter for at the moment, as we're looking at making that a lot easier for you to be able to complete within the app. So watch this space. Cool. Next is just a useful couple of reminders here that within the account section, as I said, it's sort of information that is personal to you and your accounts. So I just wanted to basically be able to highlight that within the ISA section, you're able to check the remaining ISA sub or ISA allowance that you have. Similarly, if you don't have an ISA and you're wanting to open one or to transfer one, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to initiate that through this section of the app by just clicking into it and complete your ISA declaration, I should add there too. And then similarly with a SIP, if I don't have one and want to open one or want to transfer, I'm also able to do that through this section here. Okay, I think that brings me to the end of everything I wanted to cover for the app. Okay, cool. So now I'm just going to move on to some recent releases for myKillik Web and a few other bits that might be interesting to take a look at. So recent releases, you may have noticed that Killik Lifetime Planning is within this section here. If you haven't given it a try, please do. And please also note that we will be including a link to the webinar if you wanted to have a specific deep dive on that. If you do have a question, I'll get Mike to pull those in at the end if you have any specific questions on Killik Lifetime Planning. But it is something that I'm not going to do a deep dive on today, but highly recommend giving it a try. We're really interested in receiving feedback on there. So there is a give feedback button if you want to provide specific feedback, or if you have any ideas or want to be involved in the further development of Killik Lifetime Planning, just contact us on user.research@killik.com. And I hope I've got that right. Next is, I'm just moving on to the tab that shows you where video content will be on the web. So this is in test at the moment, so it's going to be released very soon. But this will be a section that there'll be an insights bar up the top right-hand corner of myKillik Web, and you can come in and view all of our latest videos. So just a note that that's available here, and you'll hear more about it when it's released. It's just in testing at the moment, so I won't click anything in case it breaks. Similarly, I thought it would be useful to highlight that we're going to be able to add in the ability to be able to make scheduled payments or variable recurring payments on the myKillik app. And basically what this means is that you'll be able to save regularly, but it's in a way that is more dynamic than a direct debit and much easier to set up. So that's something that we're hoping to launch at some time in April. So if you're interested in saving regularly and not having to think about making in specific payments, this offers a lot of flexibility to be able to control, for example, making an annual payment, never have to think about completing an ISA sub again, or being able to save regularly, monthly or quarterly, basically in any way that you want. Killik is actually, I guess, leading the way in the financial services or investment management industry here, in being one of the first people to adopt sort of the second wave of open banking functionality, which is really exciting. So we're really looking forward to speaking more about this. But just so you know where it is, you'll notice when you go into the myKillik app, normally there is a scheduled payment section, but it's grayed out. What you'll be able to do is click into this section, and you'll be able to select, for example, a payment when you want to complete that. Set up your rules, click agree. Then you'll be taken to your bank to say, yep, that's okay. And then you can set up, for example, any rules within that. So if I say that I want to, for example, save £1,000 a month, I can then set up flexibly to say that might be £500 a month, but I might increase that. So basically, you set a limit, and then there's flexibility within how you make payments there. So that will be scheduled payments, and we're hoping to be able to release that sometime after Easter, depending. It's just going into test at the moment. So you will recall I showed you the activity page before. So when scheduled payments are there, if you're using both types, you'll be able to view all of the activity for payments within the in-app activity section of the myKillik app. Any questions there, Mike, before I move on?
None through on this particular section, no.
Okay, great. The next thing I just wanted to touch on, and this is something that we are very keen to get feedback on. So as I previously said, please do register interest if you are interested in feeding back. Some of the feedback that we've had from clients so far on Killik Lifetime Planning is that it's great to be able to view their individual circumstances, but they may have a significant other that they want to be able to look at their lives together. So what we've been trialing in the background is looking at two different views. The first is supporting you, your partner, your de facto partner, your husband, your wife, whatever it might be, in being able to look at your Killik accounts together. So effectively what this does is it pulls in all of the information for you together and then gives you the ability, to update each other's informations and views together. So for example, if we look at these two clients here, Robert and Verity, made up people, what we can do is I can say, I, as Robert, have this amount of rainy day money. Verity has a GIA somewhere else. We both own a house together. We both might have a joint investment account, and you can put in all of that information so that you get that full picture with toggles to be able to say who owns, or if something is joint. So hopefully that will be a massive improvement in being able to look at your circumstances and your full picture together and be a great add value. I won't go through much of the existing functionality, but similarly, if you're looking at doing things together, so for example, the income that either of you might be taking, whether that's regular withdrawals or contributions or other events that are happening in your life, you have the same ability to be able to say, that's for Rob or that's for Verity, and to add in that information. So hopefully that will be helpful too. Just to say down the bottom, we deal with obviously peak savings, and then a hover to be able to split in where different peak savings or retirement ages may be. And then you'll be able to work and discuss with your advisor, for example, what you might be planning to do in your retirement, or what you can do to be able to reach your goals. For example, buying a house or giving gifts or whatever it might be. So we're very keen to have feedback here. So if you are interested in being involved in early feedback of us building that, please do let us know. Similarly, we are in the very early stages of looking at whether it's of interest to clients to be able to look at an entire family view. So if you would like to be able to feedback on that or think it's something that would be interesting to you, please do let us know. Any questions there, Mike?
I have a question that says, is the lifetime planner any use post-retirement?
Yeah. Good to speak to your advisor. I suppose, yes, and I'm obviously not able to give advice because I work on the tech side, so I'm in charge of building stuff. But basically here, if you're going into retirement and you're, for example, looking at how much income you should be taking, planning for sort of cost of care, all of those sorts of things, or thinking even about if there is a next generation or a generation after that, how you might be able to, with the cost of living crisis, help them out, then this is a tool that basically allows you to test those outcomes. So for example, if you can assume certain return rates on your portfolio, are there things that you can start doing that might help others, or just make sure that you're okay, which is always useful to be able to trial some of those scenarios. Anything else there, Mike? Okay, cool. Next, moving on to, I think, one of our most requested features, so I thought it would be good to give an update on it, is being able to look at your valuation history on myKillik. So this is just kind of a notification that, firstly, we're looking at the ability to be able to add in a valuation timeline and then be able to drag along to see the value change over time. So for example, if I wanted to click a specific pink dot to see what the value of my account was in 2022, then I would be able to do that. And also receive information on what that means to me by clicking here. There's a more expanded version of this that we are developing at the moment. Ben is building it, who some of you may have met on a previous webinar, to be able to look at your valuation history by account and service on myKillik web. And the difference with what we've added here is that you're able to look at cash injections in and out. So for example, if you were contributing regularly and might see something, the value of something go up, there's easy explanations. Or for example, if you've decided to close a product, you might see the value drop because something's come out. Then you're able to, look at that on your graph to say, I took out £300 in 2021 or whatever it might be. So it's basically more detail and the ability to pick more granularly on date ranges. and then to be able to look at your service splits. So if you want to be able to look at information on global large cap and how that has done, or the value of that has changed over time, you can highlight and then see valuations at the start of a period, at the end of the period, the change, and then any cash in and out over that time. Cool. Almost at the end. A lot of talking from me. The last thing that I just wanted to introduce is that we are going to be looking at putting in a streamlined version of KillikK Lifetime Planning on the app, and also being able to tailor in different content depending upon what you're looking at. So for example, if you're looking to pay for education, KillikK Lifetime Planning might provide a video that allows you to sort of look at that and discover a bit more on how you might be able to do that. There'll be a tour at the start of it, which just takes you through all of the different steps. I'm going to skip that today. But after that, you'll be able to see basically the return rates of your services. So for example, long term, you might be looking at a return rate of X%. You'll be able to view what your future events might be. So here, apparently, I'm planning to purchase a property and getting married all in one go. So be able to view those events and then look at service splits and service information. So if you're really wanting to understand, I guess, the expertise behind KillikK and how we look at the returns machine, then all of that information is available here. And you're also able to edit information. So if you're wanting a quick view of all of the information that feeds into KillikK Lifetime Planning to be able to provide future projections for you, you can come in here and view it all. And then if you want to view a particular event, you can. And similarly, if you want to be able to add something new, there's the ability to be able to do that too. So quite slick within an app process as quite a complex tool. I think the last thing that I wanted to go through was just introducing to you that with releases, we're definitely looking at being able to communicate with you more on what's been added so that you can maximize the use of that functionality. So I really just wanted to highlight here, and I think we'll try and include some links in the webinar email if we can, that with releases, there's a playlist now called What's New in myKillik, which you'll be able to see in the app as well. And what we'll do here is we'll provide any videos for recent releases so that you can get a quick idea of how it works and then go in and try it. So just to highlight here that I've touched on KillikK Lifetime Planning today, and Mike Pate, the head of advisors, kindly put together an explainer on what that is all about and how you can maximize the use of it. And then Rob from our team also kindly put together how-to videos on how to use each of the sections, some of which I've talked about today. So for example, if you're wanting to look at a flow for what an instant payment is and how it works, there's an easy refresher there for you in 1 minute 12. And then similarly, a short refresher on how to use the dashboard order and how to maximize the use of video content on the app. So we're really going to try and get in the habit of being able to provide those short explainers to you because they'll massively enhance your experience on myKillik. And if you have any feedback on those or there's anything else we can help with or explain via video, again, please do let us know. We are really happy to hear feedback here on helping you be able to use and maximize the functionality for myKillik. Right. Mike, I think we might have a little bit of time for questions. So that if there are any that are of benefit to the group, we can go through those now. If not, please don't worry. We do get back to every question that is asked. So that'll be something that Mike and I will do over the next couple of days and be sure to get back to your questions. So thank you, because I've seen a whole load coming in, which either means I've done a great job or a bad job. But are there any that we can touch on now, Mike?
So valuation history, someone very pleased to see it. They said, is there a rough ETA for release?
Ooh, that's a good question. At the moment, we have the next 2 releases planned. So what that would mean is we're probably booked up for the next couple of months release, but I would say it would be safe to say by the end of this year or sort of by the end of Q2, Q3 is probably looking okay. We do know that that's something that clients really want. So yeah, the development work is underway. We just want to make sure that everything's tested for you to be able to use. But probably what I'll highlight there as well is that we will put out an explainer video for when we release that. And you can use it in conjunction with KILLIK lifetime planning and being able to look at value over time, and then in being able to look forward as well.
Okay, I've got a question here, which I think is about KLP.
Yep.
So it says, if husband and wife each have their own accounts, if one clicks on joint owned under lifetime planning, does this mean that in the event of death, one partner, the surviving spouse would automatically have access to the funds?
No, it does not mean that. So I guess if you add in that you own a particular asset, let's say it's a car, entering in that does not enter into any sort of, I guess, estate planning or administration of estate issues. Yeah. I can see one here that I can answer quite easily, which is total cumulative daily gains for each account. This is a requested feature, and it's something that we have on our design backlog, and being able to give you a picture outside of movers on what's changed that day. You are able to see value change within the investments page and a percentage change within the app too, but that's obviously over time. But yes, that is something that we're looking into, when it's on Mike's design backlog. So that is something we will be looking into in the future. Okay, another question here was, does the mobile app apply to just Silo, or can it be used for myKillik generally? So we have two mobile apps. One is Silo, and that's a separate app. myKillik is for KILLIK, but if you do have Silo accounts, because you may do, if you have JICEs or whatever it may be, then you can view those accounts through the myKillik app too, but the same doesn't apply to Silo. So hopefully that helps. Will there be an option to just read text if you want to for videos? Is another question. I think that might be something that I can check on, but I think that YouTube does provide transcripts. So that may be something that's available, but if not, it's something that we can look into if you prefer to read rather than watch.
I don't know if you can answer this one. Is there a video explaining what KILLIK means by putting buy against a stock?
Oh, it's a good question. I'm sure there are some playlists within research, but I suppose I don't feel 100% qualified to answer that. But if KILLIK puts buy against a stock, basically there's an investment committee and a research team that research fully and look at all of the information available on an equity or fund idea, and then produce a research note and written information for you, which you can also view via myKillik on a specific idea. So basically, if all of the criteria that are looked at within there mean that that is something that the research team and that KILLIK and the investment committee thinks is beneficial for a client, then it may be a buy idea.
Is there a search facility so it can jump to the section needed? I can answer that. Currently there isn't. I assume this refers to the web. Certainly something we could consider.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. I'm not sure if maybe that is enough questions for now. I think some of the others are probably a bit complicated for the call and might be easier for me to pick up via email.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are there any other last minute questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, everyone. I hope that that's been helpful. And please do look out for the email after the webinar, because that will contain some useful links that we've discussed today. And please do feedback if you trialed any of this new functionality or future functionality and like it. I'm very appreciative of your time. and speak again soon.